Do I just pass it to you or? Hello, welcome to the June 2019 not metrics meeting now, Wikimedia monthly activities meeting, formerly the metrics meeting. We're just going to go right into the agenda just because we're a few minutes after. Let's press the button, nothing happening. Nothing happening. Oh no. It's all good. It's all good. It's one of those days. How y'all doing in the room? Tell us a story. I've got no stories. Apologies those on the call waiting. Superb. Thank you. Woo! I don't have the words here anymore, but it's all good. I'll read them off the screen like a professional. Well, here's the agenda. So we're going to be talking about, obviously, the movement update as usual, and then we'll be moving to Zico for his talk on Wikis for children, and then a movement strategy update, and then questions, discussion, and WikiLove. So movement update, first of all. Again, I'll just have to read these off the screen. But Wikimedia and Outreachy, technical internships bridging the free and open source inclusion gap. So Outreachy is running 2 rounds of paid internships a year. Thank you very much. With the help of Wikimedia staff members and volunteer mentors from organizations like the Wikimedia Foundation. And why we must all support policy that keeps the internet open and accessible. Together we can help protect a flourishing and open internet that allows for all forms of culture, science, participation, and knowledge. I don't know what that in particular is about, but... So the Wikimedia Czech Republic hosted a hackathon in May, bringing together 220 people from 47 different countries. The annual hackathon brings people with different skill sets together to work on software that powers the Wikimedia websites. And we, the Wikimedia Foundation, back in court, opposing NSA's mass surveillance. On the 30th of May, we were in a courtroom in Alexandria, Virginia, to watch oral arguments in our ongoing case against the United States government's mass surveillance practices. And other events coming up around the world. We have the Celtic Knot Wikimedia Language Conference in Cornwall, England, United Kingdom. We have Wikimania 2019 in August in Stockholm, and the Wiki Convention Francophone in Brussels, Belgium. All right, and then we'll move on to Zico, who's on the call for Wikis for Children.
So sharing my screen with you. All right, I'm Zico van Dijk, and I would like to talk to you about Wikis for Children. Can you see the presentation?
We can't see the presentation yet. There we go. Now we can. Oh wait, no, we can't.
Now you can see the presentation.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So the idea is to give you a short overview about the existing situation, some issues when you talk about children on the internet, and then I have some suggestions or recommendations to consider with regard to the strategy of 2030, because we want to enlarge our readership in general. Well, shortly about me, here's a little disclaimer. I'm the co-founder of one of the wikis I'm talking about, the Lexicon, but I try to be as neutral as possible. I have just singled out there are several types of wikis for children, and we have to consider that. So this overview is only about a few wikis. There are much more, but because of the time, and I just chose several wikis just to show that several types of wikis for children. So considering only wikis that are reference works of some kind, some encyclopedias, so I didn't consider wikis for fiction, for example, the declared goal is that the readers are children, and in some cases they also want children to be contributors in the wiki. Of course, it's open content, and it must be a wiki that is open for contributors and public for the readers. So we are not talking here about some wikis installed on a school server just serving for one classroom. And actually, the Wikimedia movement already does have a wiki for children. Simple English Wikipedia has a whole list of target groups, and this is, according to me, already a problem, because if you try to do justice to so many different target groups, like people who don't have English as foreign language, I think it's a problem by itself. And I'm afraid I have to say I find the quality haphazard. So you have sometimes articles with only 1 or 2 sentences, so they are not really serving as information source. And there's an article like Frédéric Chopin. I find it excellently written. It's not too long, but it's just not easy to understand. It writes about an abortive engagement of Chopin, and I find it difficult to understand. So we are not quite there yet, but there are wikis that have been created outside of the Wikimedia movement. And I believe the first one was the Grundschule wiki in German. So this is from an association that deals with open educational resources. They have several wikis, and this one is a learning platform. So you as a teacher go with your school class to an administrator, get accounts, and children are going to write articles. And I call this kind of wikis education-oriented. So the goal is the children learn how to write or to collaborate, to work with hypertext and so on. And it's not that important how good is the content in the end. On the contrary, the Lexicon, initially supported with fundings of Wikimedia Deutschland, there is a community of adults that is permanently writing articles. We have tried to work with children, but they simply don't have the skills to write articles with the minimum requirements. So this kind of wikis I call content-oriented. And there's also a third group like WikiKids, or in French Wikidia, and other wikis. They try to be learning platforms and content creating communities at the same time, which in my opinion is also quite a challenge. Imagine a child has written a text, and it's quite good for the child, it's an achievement, but from a content point of view, you would have to say that you have to delete it because it doesn't meet the quality requirements for readers. And there are some quite specific issues, a lot of them, I just present 2 of them. Always when you deal with children in wikis and on the internet in general, the first one, of course, is the openness by itself. It's a value of a wiki that is open and everybody can edit. On the other side, always when you deal with children, you need some kind of protected space. I gave you the link to the Harris report some years ago. 10 years ago, 2010, I believe, there was a report on Wikipedia, and Mr. and Mrs. Harris, they wrote, there's a general problem. In a wiki, we expect people to be equals of each other, to collaborate, but adults and children, they cannot meet on eye level because children don't have the resilience we expect, and they cannot protect their own rights in the way we want to. So there must always be an adult who has the task to protect the children from cyber grooming, for example. I find it actually a problem that in Wikipedia, a minor, age under 12, age under 14, can create an article, a user account, and then a stranger could send an email to the child with the Wikimail system. So generally, I would like to raise awareness on these problems in the Wikimedia movement. And the second issue I want to tackle here, harmful content. So an encyclopedia wants to talk about everything, but well, there are some things like when you talk about the Holocaust, you would have to ask yourself what kind of pictures can you show and how much you go into detail. The Harris report has this interesting principle of least astonishment, and they say in the Western world, it is okay if a wiki for children has nudity, but only in articles where you expect it, on sexuality, for example, but not in other kind of articles. So in the lexicon, for example, when we wrote the article on mermaids, we did have some kind of nudity in the gist, but we tried to limit that as much as possible. Principle of least astonishment. So, and if it comes to the Wikimedia Foundation, and I'm trying to cover a little bit the discussions of last years, I would like to consider from three possible standpoints or points of view. The easiest way for the movement thinking about children and wikis is just keeping the current situation, because you have wikis in several countries, you have wikis for several purposes, different purposes, and they work more or less well. And I don't know whether they would work better if they are Wikimedia wikis, maybe yes. But at the present time, if I want to have travel expenses to go to a conference and promote the lexicon, I can do that. I can get it from Wikimedia Deutschland, for example. That's not the problem. But you also can consider a current situation plus, where you would have a kind of partnership program between the foundation and individual wikis for children, where you have signed some principles, shared principles and values, and on the other hand you would give them more substantial support. For example, the lexicon and other wikis are suffering from, well, certain datedness of the media wiki versions and other software issues, and with relatively small money the foundation or the chapters could help us in a way that they are now reluctant to do. That's a little bit my concern. So there's certainly room for improvement. And third, maybe we will in future do get this Wikimedia Wiki for children, as they have planned in several approaches. But my suggestion would be to consider to have two different wikis. One learning platform for education, maybe with protected spaces for single school classes, and a different one for content directed for children as readers. And with all this, one would have to consider one way or the other that these wikis must be allowed to be different to Wikipedia, maybe follow some other principles or be very strict when it comes to harassment and make it easier to report harassments, because children are always a special target. And especially regulation about children on the internet are very severe in the country, so you have to need some tolerance that there are differences from country to country or language to language version. So, and why are we doing this? For one simple reason: in the year 2030, young adults, students, young people coming to Wikipedia, Wikidata and other projects, well, where are they now? They are now 10 years old, at school, and I think they are very happy if they have a kind of Wikipedia for children and a website in general that is not full with advertisements and other nasty things you just don't want to have when children are on the internet. So this is my account on wikis and children. Maybe there were some time for questions, and I'm happy to be in contact with you later on if you want so. Yes?
Thank you, Zico. We'll do questions and discussion at the end of the meeting, but thanks a lot for giving that presentation there. And we'll move on quickly to the movement strategy. As soon as we can.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Just give us 2 seconds while we fix the presentation here. Superb. Cool. Take it away. Oh, you're muted just now, Douglas.
Dear viewers and listeners, sorry about that. Greetings from wherever you are. in the world, and welcome to the Wikimedia 2030 update. My name is Kateregga Douglas from the Movement Strategy Core team, and for today's update, we have something interesting in store for you for what's happening in the movement strategy process. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the activities continue and the work continues for the 9 thematic areas. The current stage of activities is in the analysis phase. Working groups are doing an analysis of the scoping questions that were developed a few months ago, and you'll be able to have access and your input to all this in the upcoming Wikimania at Stockholm. And this is not news already. It has happened for quite some time, and most of us have been aware about what has been happening in the working groups and their thematic areas. But today's focus is on the strategy salons. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the strategy salons are quite an important step in the movement strategy process, as they link to what the working groups are currently doing in terms of having voices and community efforts included in the movement strategy process. And we are doing this to have emerging communities included, unheard and new voices included in the future of our movement. And we are going to look at what the leaders in Uganda and Tanzania are doing in preparation for their strategy sessions that are coming up in the next few months. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we have Geoffrey Kateregga, who's going to speak to us about what plans are being done, and then we'll hear from Tanzania, the Tanzania team as well. Handing over to you, Geoffrey.
Yeah, thank you, Douglas. My name is Geoffrey Kateregga from the Wikimedia Community User Group in Uganda. So I'm glad and quite excited to be speaking to you today to tell you about our upcoming saloon, which is actually happening in just a few days' time. So it's happening this weekend on Saturday. And we are hoping to gather around 20 community members, and because of the funding that we're able to get people from different parts of the country, and these include like different partners that we've collaborated with on projects, core members of the user group, students, and other different players in the community user group. And what we are focusing on for our strategy salon is we selected 2 themes, that is roles and responsibilities, and then resource allocation. So we chose these 2 because we think this is what like us as a user group are most interested in trying to make our voice heard and contribute to the movement strategy. So it's happening this weekend, and yeah, we are looking so much forward to it. And the most interesting thing, I think, is also that after the country one, which is happening this week, we are also going to be preparing a regional one, which will bring together different countries in Eastern Africa. So Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya. So this one that we are having this week is going to act as, an opportunity for us to, first of all, discuss what we care for as a user group, and also prepare us for the regional one, which will be upcoming a few months later, which will again, take into consideration the ideas from the whole region, which we shall present to the movement. So that's the plan for us, and yeah, we are having it this weekend, and very much looking forward to it. So the objectives, and maybe I can say of the strategy salon that we're having. First, it's first of all an opportunity to come together as a user group and present what we want to the movement strategy group, and want to use multimedia presentation. So we hope to record like videos of our ideas, and also we are creating a meta page so that we also publish that on the wiki. So hopefully this will be, the results will inform and be useful as we look forward to Wikimedia 2030. So yeah, that's the brief idea that we have for our strategic meeting this weekend, and yeah, I'll be looking forward to any questions at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so apologies, we are not able to have Antonio join us. He's got some technical problems. I hope I'm able to efficiently represent what he was supposed to discuss with us, which I'll try to do in the next few minutes. So it's like one of the key elements to note in this process is that these two user groups in East Africa are one of the new user groups that have joined the Wikimedia affiliate model, and one of the objectives is to have like the capacities of these user groups included in the future of the movement. And one of the existing activities that have been happening behind the scenes of what the user groups have been doing that were not known to the movement include having, like, the Tanzanian user group has like students that have been working for over 2 years. They have Swahili Wikipedia administrators as representatives from Dinga Wikipedia, Swahili user group as well. Then their Astronomy Association of Tanzania is part of their user group, and they have volunteers from Creative Commons chapter in Tanzania, as well as individuals and entrepreneurs, lecturers, and a different mix of different people involved in their movement. And the plan for their strategy salon is to hold 2 events. One is a general salon, and the other one is a youth-focused salon, where they would like to discuss thematic areas in community health, capacity building, and then they can incorporate product and technology, and other thematic areas like and solution, basically, plus revenue streams. So these are just the outlines of some thematic areas that we'll be looking at, but they'll be able to refine that according to the way that they plan as we proceed. Yeah, that's a general view of what they would like to do, and we hope the movement can be able to provide them feedback. Next slide, please. Yeah, so in case of any feedback, we can reach out to myself and Kelsey, who is the community engagement specialist, and we can as well be able to share what is happening with the plans for the strategy salons and how the general movement can get involved and get updates about what's happening. Thank you so much. Next slide. Yeah, any questions, you can reach out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm going to stand up for this bit, but we just crept on a little too far. Cool. So now I guess it's open for questions and discussion. If you have any and you're watching online, then you can ask them on IRC to Mr. Forrester over there, James F. Or, I guess, raise them by voice if you're in the room, I guess. I don't know what other methods there are.
Hi, I'm going to jump in. So I've got more of a comment than a question. Sorry, had to say it. To Zico from SJ, he said, +1 to your core point, we absolutely need knowledge and collaborative spaces for children. And he gave the example that Scratch does an excellent job of making space and moderation work at scale. So I don't know if you'd like to speak to that, Zico.
Could you please repeat the question?
Of course, Zico. So SJ was saying that he totally agrees with your core point, that we need knowledge and collaborative spaces for children. And there are some examples of this working quite well. And he gave the example of Scratch, which is a children's programming playground kind of thing, and how that scales moderation and making safe spaces available quite well. And I don't know if you'd like to speak about the challenge of moderating and building communities.
Well, yes, I would like to give you an example. That was a slide I took away. But, I learned from a professional moderator for chat rooms for children. So not Wikis, but in general. Imagine that someone writes a comment like, "Hello, please write to me. I have 5 cats. I have 6 dogs. I have 3 turtles," and so on. So would that be a harmful communication? Would you allow or prohibit this kind of post in the chat room? And the answer is no, because this could be a hidden message. This is a sequence of numbers. Here someone tries to open a channel like a telephone number or an ICQ code. So the moderator then would say, "Hello, it's nice to talk about your animals at home. Please, you could say just several dogs, a lot of cats, some turtles," and so on. And very often it seems that not only children are registering in a chat room or on a website for children that try to get the children to a communication channel where they don't have moderators. So I wasn't aware of that before I started with the Lexicon, these practices, and I find it a little bit scary. So you have a lot of responsibilities, and sometimes I think in the Wikimedia movement, we still don't have the awareness for this kind of problems. So now I'm actually quite happy that our experiments with children in the Lexicon didn't turn out so well for quality reasons, and we are not teachers, so we cannot accompany them in a proper way. We always had contact with the parents of the children, but now I'm actually quite happy that there are no active children on the wiki now. So if you want to talk about all these problems you can have when you actively want to have children on a website, you can talk quite a long time about that.
Thank you.
Has anybody got any more questions in the room? I think we're all out on IRC. I think we're probably questioned out just now. Cool. I don't have the clicker anymore, so there we go. Fantastic. So this meeting is community sourced. So if you have ideas or you want to present on something, then by all means sign up on MetaWiki using the page there that you can see on the slide, or just search for activities meetings and it'll come up. And I think that brings us through to Wikilove, the best slide. So I guess if anybody's got Wikilove to share, either do that on IRC or we have a mic in the room. If anyone would like to stand up and do something, don't be shy, they don't bite. I promise. Yeah.
Hello. All right. I am just bubbling over with Wikilove right now for everyone who has signed up on Wikimedia Space. In the first 48 hours since launch, over 100 people have created an account. So thank you so much for that.
I've got a WikiLove comment from SJ and IRC to Douglas and to Geoffrey to thank them for the local meeting updates and how it's inspiring. Adding in my own words to hear all that work, and it's really important. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Gianna. I help out admin assistant to our engineering teams here. And this isn't glamorous, but it's end of our fiscal year. So we've been doing a lot of work on the back end with finance and contract renewals and all that stuff. So I wanted to give WikiLove to all my colleagues and all the budget managers I work with who have been dealing with all of that, paperwork and bureaucracy and just making sure that everything gets renewed on time. So it's been a busy time for us, but thank you.
Stealing the fact that I have the microphone, I'm going to give WikiLove in a personal capacity, or rather professional capacity, to SRE, who did a huge amount of work overnight last night to deal with a networking difficulty problem we had, which was taking down the site. And, waking people up at 2 in the morning is not fun. And the sheer professionalism was brilliant to see. So thank you to them.
Anybody else in the room or online? I will give WikiLove to BURob13. He knows why. I won't go into details. He's probably not watching, but it's fine.
Geoffrey here. I just want to say,
Go for it.
Geoffrey here. I just want to say I'll be taking WikiLove to our strategy meeting this weekend. So it's good to see some WikiLove here. So something good to take away and put that all the members. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. We have another one in the room.
Oh, there we go. Green means working, red means not working. That makes very much sense. She's probably not watching either, but I'll give some WikiLove to Jasmine Tanner for always thinking one step ahead of everybody else and being prepared for everything. It's very helpful.
Okay. Any others? Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. I think we may be all WikiLoved out. Please, somebody, save me. Okay. All right. I can't remember what comes after this because I don't have the clicker. I think that's it. That's everything. That's everything. We're only 40 minutes in and we started late. And very efficient, guys. Very efficient. Well, in that case, have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.